Community Services, Tribal Services Committee meeting to order. Shelley, would you take the roll?
I sure will. Bill Anglin.
Here, yes.
One moment. Yes, that's what we want to do. If you want to serve on this committee, say yes too. Okay.
Bill John Baker. Jack Baker.
Here, and yes, please.
Harley Buzzard.
I'm here.
You don't have a choice. Julia Coates.
Here, yes.
Bradley Cobb. Joe Crittenden. Jody Fishinghawk. Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright.
Here, yes.
Don Garvin.
Yes, ma'am.
Chuck Hoskin Jr. Tina Glory Jordan. Chris Soap.
Yes.
Curtis Snell. David Thornton. Kara Cowan Watts.
Oh, honey. Yes.
I want to back up just a little bit and ask Mr. Councilman Garvin if you'd give the prayer for us, please.
Sure. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love and your watch care and your grace. We ask now that your Spirit might lead us this afternoon as we do the business for the Cherokee people. We ask that you would be with our leadership and especially our country, and we'll mention especially the military personnel that's in harm's way. We just pray for their safety and quick return to their loved ones. Forgive us for our sins. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you. Before we get started here, I'd like to welcome everybody to our Community Services, Tribal Services Committee meeting. But for some of the new council members, we don't have that many in here right now, but I would like for the audience to get up and give us your name. If you work here at the Nation, tell us your title. I think it'd be good to put a name with a face. Yes, Kara.
Mr. Chair, I think that's an excellent idea, but before we proceed, can we acknowledge two additional members that just entered?
Sure.
President and yes or no? Go through them.
To be on this committee, yes, please.
Okay. Curtis, do you want to be on the Community Services Committee?
Okay, good.
Okay. So yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sutherland, we'll start with you.
All right. David Sullivan with the Housing Authority and the Executive Director of the Housing Authority.
Darlene Foreman, Acting Director of Community Services for Cherokee Nation.
Sharon White, Director of Housing Rehab.
David Brook, Construction Manager, Housing Rehab.
Jim Ketcher, Proverbial Visitor.
Laura Ann, Director of Child Care and Development.
Norman Meriden, Group Leader for Human Services.
Jerry Snell, Director of Family Assistance.
Thank you. We all know Ginger Brown, please. Okay, the next item of business was the approval of minutes for the July 17th regular council session.
Second.
Roll call. Back up. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Before we get started into the reports, I would like the council members to hold their questions until after the report is given. I know sometimes you think of something, but if you would just jot it down, it'll give the presenter time to get through his report. Maybe we can move this along a little bit faster. So the report first is going to be the Human Services Department, Ms. Norma Merriman.
Good afternoon. Welcome, new folks. I hope I get to meet all of you soon.
Norma, before you get going here, I'm going to ask these two gentlemen if they want to be on the Community Services Committee.
Ladies on that. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I have less in my hand than you'll ever see me with again. But I think you all have probably had a big dose of a lot of things this week to try to process. I want to ask you to say yes. But, so I gave quite a bit of information yesterday to you, and we'll be doing that again, I believe, when we do our budget reports. So I'm just going to introduce a couple of my directors to you today and ask them to talk about just a couple of programs. Right now, well, when I left, we only had a few things on fire, but nothing you all probably need to know about at this point. Our programs, I will tell you once again the major programs that are under Human Services. That would be Indian Child Welfare and all of the many things they do. Child Care and Development, and I've got Lori Hand here, who is our director, and I'm going to have her speak in just a second. She has a resolution to present to you today. Family Assistance, Jerry Snell, who is here, that I'm going to ask him to speak. Rogan Noble is not a director, but he's our veterans representative for the area in Veterans Affairs. Jerry Sweet, who is the director of our newest department, which is Tribal Child Support Enforcement. Those are the major areas that we cover. If at any time we can help you in any of those areas, I know that you won't hesitate to call us. And what I've done is put together a list of the directors and some of the managers that may be key to you. They have contact numbers and their email numbers. I hope I handed out enough. And a few more in just in case. This is how you get in touch with us. And it also shows some of our field offices. We have some other areas that we go to, like once a month in Bartlesville. And I will be getting you a little more detailed message on those field offices. So with that said, does anyone have any questions about Human Services? I know that you will.
I've got a question.
Mr. Thorne.
On the $75 per child,
Yes.
Did we run out of money?
Yes.
Was it replenished?
Yes.
And those people received their vouchers now that wasn't getting them?
They're in the process. What we did is we ran out of the number of vouchers that were allocated. We went ahead and took applications from the people who were there, who had stood in line and made all the right efforts. We took those, and then we gave that information to administration, and then we were authorized enough funds to meet the outstanding eligible applications. And we are right now in the process. It took us a while to get more they're actually a gift card from Walmart. We call them a voucher, but that's what they really are. It takes a while to get through that process at Walmart. So we're actually are now in the process of going back to those same locations and allocating and handing those out.
But every child was taken care of?
Every child that was approved, that was eligible. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hoskins, thanks.
Yes, on the $75 voucher, is that something 14 county-wide or
Yes.
multiple locations?
We had, and I know that you'll be interested to know that we did go up in here. We were in Veneta, and we were in Nowata and Barnesville. So,
Ms. Jordan?
Yes. Did we cut off the time or stop
Yes.
taking?
Yes.
Did we just tell them we were out of money and stop taking applications?
here's what we did. We did quite a lot of publicity through the newspapers, JOM, local newspapers, as well as the Phoenix. We started in June saying the dates, the times and locations, what they would need to bring, and it was low income, very low income based. So if they came and they did not have all the appropriate documentation they needed, we allowed them to get that in if they started their application. Some people did, some people didn't. And we have worked very hard on trying to be as fair as we could about that. If we were at a location that ran out of vouchers, we continued to take applications until we were every place at 7 o'clock at night. And if they signed in at 7 o'clock, we took their application, and I will tell you, my staff worked till midnight in some places to make sure that happened. And then they were told that if we did get more funds and they were eligible, they would get a card and they would be notified. We've been notifying as many as possible by phone. so that we could talk to them directly. And those we couldn't notify by phone, we have sent out cards to, letters to.
Norma, if we do this again, is there something we can do to better gauge the potential number of kids that we may need to cover the cost for?
Well, I think this year gave us a better gauge. We did it last year, and what we based it on, we had a formula. I mean, we really had a process. We went to Geodata. We asked for the number of children in schools at the level of poverty that we were looking at, which was poverty plus 10%. And so that's how we got our original numbers. And this year, and this was my doing. I know there were some people that didn't like it, but we did $100 vouchers last year. And we did that because we thought that was the right thing to do. We were given enough vouchers for, that covered 1,000 kids. We were given enough vouchers to cover 2,000 children. I sat down with my staff and I said, here's what I'm really looking for. A pair of shoes, slacks or jeans, an outfit for a child that they can go to school with. If that's possible to do, because I don't have any little kids now. Mine's 30 and you can possibly buy them shoes probably for $75. I don't know, with size 13. But with kids, with school-age kids, can you do that at Walmart? Because Walmart, too, we have to use. It's the only vendor that's everywhere. And they said, yes, we could do that for $75. So we reduced it. And the reason that we did it is that we added another 665 children we could cover by reducing it $25. So I made that decision based on our staff's consultation. And we went above that. Now, I don't have the final tally on the children that are going to get those. I won't have it until we complete giving those out, but I'm going to tell you, I think it's probably around the 2,800 level. So what I suspect is that, and did we cover everybody? No, we had lots of people who called, but I will tell you, a lot of people that called were not eligible. They were out of jurisdiction, they were over income, and they couldn't produce a blue card for their child. So, and those were all advertised things that had to occur. So next year we'll take what we did into consideration and, and the amount of money that we received.
Could we possibly tie our numbers to Johnson O'Malley? People that are eligible for Johnson O'Malley, and that possibly might give us a...
We had kind of attempted to do that. We notified Johnson O'Malley, and the problem is not every school has JOM, not every school has a JOM counselor, so it's kind of different than it used to be because of their cutbacks. I personally hope to sit down and try to find another way to do this. And I would love to do it through the schools, who I'm sure feel like, oh no, not another thing to throw on us. But I agree with you that JOM does have information that would probably make it easier. And if we can work through the school system, I would love to do that next year instead of having lines of people. You have to understand, the first year we didn't have anything near what we had this year. So it was hard to gauge that this was going to happen.
Well, I believe it's an excellent program, excellent idea, and I want to help more. I just think it has a real positive impact here at the beginning of the school year if our Cherokee children go to school with a new set of clothes on like everybody else does.
I will tell you that I think it had some effect on the other tribe down the road, because last year they gave $25, we gave $100. This year they raised theirs to $75, so we were both giving $75, and I think that's a good thing.
Mr. Snell, any questions?
Well, you kind of answered my question. You said for those children that qualify. I was just going to ask how do they qualify? What?
There is an income guideline based on the number in the home, and 110% of poverty is the income level. They have to live in the jurisdictional area, and they have to have a blue card. And being K through 12, by the way, we don't give vouchers to children who are homeschooled or not in school. we had a lot of requests for children who weren't in school, but K through 12.
Mr. Cobb?
My question has two parts. First of all, do you know offhand what poverty level income is considered in Oklahoma or within the Cherokee Nation?
100%. Well, we use the, Jerry, do you want to help me with that one? Mr. Schnell deals with that on many of his programs, so on a day-to-day basis, he does that a little more than I do.
One program. Those income guidelines change every year, and I can't give you the exact dollar amount, but just to give you an idea, a household of two, the poverty level income guidelines is somewhere in the ballpark of 11,000 to 11,500, and it goes right on up the scale.
And then you'd add 10%.
Add 10% to that amount. And I can be corrected on that, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. It's extremely low. It's extremely low.
No, go ahead, you're fine.
We used the LIHEAP guidelines that we have for this program. And I'm going to tell you that, one of the reasons is if you raise it up much more, it's going to cost you an awful lot of money to do this. So when we first started this last year with the 100,000, we knew that we weren't going to have, although we didn't know what the magic figure was, we knew there were a lot more children out there.
Right.
So, and this year proved that.
The second part of my question is there a restriction on that gift card? I mean, how do we know that
It's been a terrible thing for us to work out. When we first started doing that, that's what I asked Walmart to do. I truly believe that they have the ability to do that, but they were horrible to work with. And if I could work with anyone else, I would.
So right now, we don't have any checks. I mean, there's no way to know that,
we discussed having them.
Walmart and Bob, whatever.
Yeah, we discussed having them have to submit receipts to us. Well, I'll tell you, I'd have to double my staff for all of those hundreds of children for someone to be the detective. And then what do you do if it's wrong? Do you call the Attorney General and sick them on there? My folks aren't detectives and they aren't policemen. So you have to begin to say, okay, what's reasonable? And still get the kids what they need. I would really like to use another vendor that had clothing only, like Goodies or Stage or some of those places, but you don't have them throughout the jurisdictional area. So our hands were a little tied on that. If anyone has a good alternative to that, I'm very open, because I don't want to deal with them again.
I'm going to take one more question from Mr. Hostin, please.
Thank you. I think it's disturbing to hear that Walmart is difficult to work with, given the amount of. I realize that money is probably a drop in their enormous bucket, but frankly, to direct that number of kids who might not otherwise shop in their store to purchase items, my thought was, and I don't know if this is already happening, is if, of course, I think Walmart probably would thumb their nose at us, but frankly, Walmart ought to kick in a nickel on every dollar or a penny on every dollar.
We asked that. We asked them both years, since we're giving you this amount of money, could you add another, I can't remember what the figure was, but we asked them to add another 50 or 100 cards, and the answer was no. I mean, they really, really weren't good to work with.
I would like to see if we can find another vendor when we publicize the fact that we're going with another vendor, that Walmart was unwilling with its vast resources to contribute, and we had to look elsewhere.
Well, I think the other thing was that I can't believe in this age of technology that they couldn't have coded those cards so that they would only accept. Now, I know that would have been a problem because some people were going to buy other things at the same time. So I know that would be a hardship on them. But in some way, I believe there's a way we can do it. I haven't figured it out yet. But Walmart not only gets all that money from us, they get a lot of money from the tribe through Indian Child Welfare. Through my programs alone, they get a lot of money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Norman.
I would, well, we'll cover it on the resolution. I want Laura to speak, but thank you very much.
Next will be Community Services. That has Charlie Sullivan. I believe we have a lady here to do this.
Not Charlie. They're working on the water line.
It's Darlene
Foreman. And I am the acting group leader for Community Services. And I kind of went over the programs that Community Services handles, and I just kind of want to give you an update. Last month there was a question, and I'm not sure if this is where I address it. They wanted us to check on the Bellefonte Community Building because the air conditioning was not working, and we did look into that, and to have a contractor do that, it was going to be over $8,000. And so we're going to propose to them to see if they would be willing to install this if we bought the equipment for the air conditioner. So that's our proposal to them. So we'll find out about that. Also, there was a question on Marble City air conditioner, and that was going to be about $3,000 to fix that. And we do have funds available that we can repair these. So that was the update from last month. I was going to talk briefly about the self-help housing. I kind of went over it a little bit yesterday. But we currently have 26 homes that we're the self-help homes, and we have 16 under construction right now, and 7 of them are 50% complete. We do have one that is fully complete. We also working on the model home that's located nearby the purchasing, and that's going to be kind of for the future applicants that want to kind of see how to put together the SIP model home. We'll have a tape. We've been videotaping. I don't know if any of you had a chance to look at that. I know the chief asked yesterday, that maybe we had time and we didn't have time to go look at it, but they're still working on it today. But we're going to kind of use that to show families what's entailed if they choose to go this route on this SIP house. Water lines, we're currently working on the Dry Creek water line. That's 20% complete. We started that in the middle of July, so that's going good. Bellew, we're doing the leak checks and testing and repairing anything that needs repaired on that. So, and that was basically what I was going to say. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Darlene. Anybody have any questions for Darlene? Mr. Stout?
Have you all done any work on this Oaks wastewater treatment plant?
Yes, we do. That was in my notes. We are in the process. Oaks wastewater treatment plant. We're waiting a final environmental so we can give Oaks the okay to spend the funds. So it apparently looks like we're waiting for an environmental on that.
And you don't know what the time frame of that might be?
No. I can find out and get back with you on that.
Good.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Ms. Jordan?
On the self-help homes that you're working on, the 26, are those going to be payback situations?
Yes, they are.
Now, have all the self-help homes from the very beginning been payback situations?
They're in the process. We're getting to that point.
Okay,
Yes.
so we're going to try to do a mortgage and note for everyone that got a self-help
For
home.
materials only.
Materials only.
It'll be a 30-year note, 0 interest.
Do you have any idea about what those will run?
I think about 35,000, 40,000.
And we're in the process of going back to the very beginning?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, we are.
Any more questions for Ms. Foreman? Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you.
We have Housing Authority, Mr. David Sutherland.
Good afternoon. Y'all are kind of wore out this week. I apologize for not being at yesterday's orientation, but I was in Oklahoma City at a HUD meeting, actually sponsored by the Federal Home Loan Bank. We do mortgage assistance, which we've done mortgages in the past. So the topic was streamlining the mortgage approval process in Indian country, and they'd ask us to participate because we've got a little more experience than a lot of tribes do in the mortgage process. What they're looking for is what the barriers are. Well, in Oklahoma, generally are not barriers, just because they don't do a whole lot of mortgages on trust property. So we don't have the issues they have out in, Arizona, New Mexico, all those type of places where they are on reservations. But the big problem they're experiencing is with the title status reports, and obviously they go through the BIA to get those, and apparently that is a problem. Just from the folks that were there from the BIA, they really had no conception of what it was. A lot of those folks were even talking about. They just don't do them in these offices, so they weren't real familiar with them. So I don't know how they're doing out in Navajo country and all those other reservations, but apparently it's a problem, or they wouldn't be having 16 meetings around the country to try to figure out what the problem is. But we're a little lucky in that respect. We just haven't had a lot of folks doing mortgages on trust property. Did want to mention this. This is the time of year that folks are going back to college. We have a higher education program that we provide for students that meet the eligibility criteria. We've always done it in the past. We've called it dorm assistance. And young folks have to go live in the dorm. We pay for the room. We don't pay for board. We take applications from August 1st to September 15th. The reason we cut those off is we don't feel comfortable if a kid come in at the last of October and they've been living in there since middle of August, it doesn't look too good from HUD's point of view, us going back and paying that. So we try to get those up front when they get in there. So we cut it off at September 15th. But we've opened it up to where they don't have to live in a dorm. And the reason being, there's just some colleges that there's not enough dorm space, for one. I can tell you was a good example is if you were I think it was a junior or senior, you were very likely not to live in a dorm. They just didn't have the space. So we opened it up. They can live in an apartment. We still kind of tie it to the dorm rate, so we'll have some kind of control on the cost. If there's 4 kids living in the apartment, we prorate that for the folks that we're paying assistance for. But we have had a couple of problems because when we opened it up, it kind of looks like our regular rental assistance program. There's been a couple of applications that slipped through. We thought they were regular rental assistance, and they were really this higher ed. We caught them, we processed them. If you all get a report or something like that, have them call me so I can make sure it gets completed, because it needs to be completed quick. And it's talking about their housing at a university somewhere. Now, just for FYI on this program, the child has to live within the 14 county jurisdiction, but the assistance can be anywhere. And what we do is we take the highest dorm rate in Oklahoma, and right now it's OU, and that's the maximum amount we'll pay. And I think it's like $2,800 per semester. So if they go to ORU, we would pay. We wouldn't pay ORU's rate. We'd pay up to the $2,800 rate, because the private university is quite a bit higher. So next month, I knew that you folks probably been bombarded with a lot of stuff. Give you all a little more information next month, what we call fact sheets. I don't know exactly how much Lisa talked about some of the programs yesterday. We'll get you some more information on that. And if you can't find my phone number, just call Bill John, because I think it's on speed dial. But I'm always accessible if you ever need anything. We got 4 area offices for the new folks that are here today. One in Tahlequah, Claremore, Jay, and Salisaw. Hopefully we can get together at some point in the near future and visit with the folks out there in the area office, and you'll get to know them. And because if you ever have any questions, that's what they're there for. That's really all I was going to talk about today, Harlan.
I got a question, Southern David. In order to qualify for this assistance, do people that live in an MH house that's paid off, are they eligible for that?
Talk about the higher education assistance? Yes.
So if you live in a HUD home, then you're eligible to apply. I guess there's an income guideline.
There is an income guideline. I usually carry the income guideline around and
You're talking about a lot of homes, and that's what I want to make clear.
well, we're doing approximately 100 to 110 of these this semester. We could fund more, but that's just all the demand that we've had. But the demand does seem to be picking up, so we continue to monitor that. The way we fund it is we want to fund all of them. Anybody that applies, and we have in the past, we've been fortunate enough to do that. And as long as we've got funds available, we will continue to.
Now, does this apply to cluster homes like your low rent homes?
Yes.
Jay, Claremore, other places like that?
We look at it as they're applying for a whole different service. If they're living in mutual help, we don't care. We still go by the 80% of the national median income. If they're being claimed on their parents' income tax, we have to use the parents along with theirs. If they're not, we only use theirs. This is one of the things I'll provide you over the next few weeks is the income guidelines that we go through. I think Sharon, did you already enter
But
that?
I don't know what they do.
I think some of her programs are 50% as far as the emergency. Is that true? But there's a lot of programs that are based on this. This is the national median income for this area.
Okay.
Actually, we don't do area, it's the national median. Back in '98, we did the local income, which was about $21,000 or $2,000 for a family of four, and now it's $47,700. So the clientele numbers has gone way up.
Now, tell me the deadline for the turn of the application.
September 15th. For the spring semester, we'll start on January 2nd and take them through February 15th.
Any questions? I think Curtis Snell had a question.
David, this is just for non-career rental.
Do what now?
This is just for rental?
Well, it's for students going to college.
Right.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be college. It can be they're going to Okmulgee Tech. They could be going to a Botech school. Let's just make an imaginary one down in Oklahoma City. That's where they need to go to get whatever it is they're studying. We can assist the folks with that.
Well, we'll have people ask, well, we live at home. They wouldn't apply.
No, it wouldn't apply. We have a lot go to do NEO. Quite a few go into NEO. Arkansas, OU, we have done one to Stanford, I think was probably the farthest one away that we've done.
Any more questions for Mr. Sullivan? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Emergency Housing and Rehab, Sharon Light.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
I brought a couple of handouts. I was requested how many applications per county we had on our rehab program. So we did a chart with the numbers for everyone to see what the amount of applications you have in each of your counties. You'll know that, notice that some of the northern counties didn't have as many, and we need applications in those areas. So if you talk to people, encourage them to apply for the rehab program. Also, I brought a sheet that tells how we calculate points on our rehab program and what the points are based on, where everybody could see those also. So. And these are both for just the rehab program. One of the things that I had forgotten to mention yesterday in my presentation is that our applications for rehab has a criminal background check to it, and if they have committed a violent or drug-related crime in the last 5 years, then they can't be served on the rehab program. this, by doing that, it's also helped a lot of our clients to clear the records up. Because if they have a charge that's been deferred, we ask them to go back to the judge and get that, and it clears it off of their record. So it helps them as well as us. And by doing that, then we just put their application on hold, they go back, clear it up, and come back, and we'll make it active again. We also need tarot vendors in the northern areas. If you know anyone that is Indian-owned vendor, we have problems getting tarot vendors in that area, so up in the northern part. So if you could send us some of those, we would appreciate it. We're currently working on rehabbing what Cherokee Nation refers to as the Sequoia 4B. It's the old OPC building, just right down from the casino, and we're rehabbing that for an administrative office for us. So it's the half-tin horn building. And that's about all I have. If you need any additional information, have any questions, I'll be glad to look anything up for you or get you any additional information you need.
Sharon, I got one question. You talk about these applications. Do you have any field offices? Do you do any field work as far as taking rehab applications, or do they have to come to Tahlequah to do the applications? Or?
Now we have housing counselors in one in Claremore, one in Jay, and one in Sallisaw.
Okay.
And they're located at the Housing Authority's area office.
Okay, so they will get an application. Okay. I had Mr. Kyle here for a question.
Again, two-part. Can you tell me the difference between level 1 and level 2 on the handicap?
Level 1 is they just need maybe a ramp, some grab bars, stuff like that. Level 2 is they need everything. They need their bathroom remodeled and made handicap accessible, and everything that comes along with
The
that.
second part of that is when someone has filled one of these out, had some work done, is there a time limit on when they can reapply to have something else done?
On
wait so long? Or?
The rehab program?
Right.
Yes, if they've been served in the past 10 years by the Housing Authority or a program through Cherokee Nation, they can't receive service. And also they sign an agreement on this program, and it's based on the useful life of the home, and they will sign the agreement which will place a lien on their home based on the amount of money spent on that home.
If some work was completed on a home and the work was faulty, what is their recourse?
If it's a contractor, we require our contractors to have a 1-year warranty period. If it's our force account, we also have the workmanship of 1 year. If it's after that period, we try to assist them through maybe one of the other programs of emergency or something like that.
Okay.
We've been trying to coordinate. We've got coordination going with a hospice out of Sequoia County, and we're trying to work on some other counties that in some cases on the elderly, if we will furnish the material, they will do the work for us. So we're working on that and looking for other contacts in other counties.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoskins, you had a question?
Yeah, Ms. Lay, you mentioned the low number of vendors in the northern areas, and I think the low number of applicants as well for the rehab. Is the authority, the authority considering any outreach to that area, public outreach in the media? Because I get the sense in my community that people simply don't know, and sometimes they need to do the legwork and look, but I wonder if you can go the other direction. Is there any efforts?
We can do that. We have done it, but we can do more of it. We have lady that's in the Claremore office, she's there. She goes to office 2 days a week in Collinsville. That has helped pick up a lot of additional applications for that area with the Collinsville office. But we will do some more outreach for that area.
I mean, I have in mind, and you may do this, but working with local papers and radio stations, because I don't see that in my community, and maybe it happens and they just aren't printing it, but if that's the case, I can fix that.
Any more questions for Sharon? Thanks, Sharon. Moving on to old business, I see no old business, so we'll move on to new business. We have a resolution authorizing Cherokee Nation Child Care and Development to submit an application for participation in the statewide early childhood pilot project. Laura, are you going to present this?
I'll give you background information on that anyway. And I want to start back maybe a year or so ago. Cherokee Nation had been in contact with George Kaiser, or I think the George Kaiser Foundation had been in contact with Cherokee Nation, looking at, interested in doing some public-private partnerships around early childhood initiatives. And I believe Ginger would know more about that. There were a number of meetings about some different options that were available, and the Kaiser Foundation is very interested in early childhood as an initiative and looking at those kinds of partnerships. A few months ago, I was contacted by an agency with the state of Oklahoma saying that they were doing pilot projects around improving the quality of care in early childhood classrooms, and they were interested in us entering into a partnership with them. So they came down and met with us and talked to us about that project, which would be enhancing classrooms or providing new classrooms in our current child care facilities in order to increase the quality of care. We met with them and felt that it was something that it would be possible to do. So this is approving that application. Through this, we'll have an opportunity to provide services to additional children and offer really enhanced services to infants and toddlers with more comprehensive health, mental health, and family assistance type of programs.
For approval.
Second.
All in favor? Sign of aye. All opposed? Same sign? Being none. Thank you, Laura. Well, thank everybody for coming. It looks like this is the end of the Community Services, Travel Services Committee. Is there any announcement? Any of the audience people have announcements?
I'd like to be added to the committee.
Okay, I'm sorry. And there were 2 or 3 other council members that walked in. Okay, we have Joe and then Jody. I think that was all. Any more announcements? In the audience have announcements they'd like to make? Norman?
Question, I came in a little late. Barney, are you going to be on the chairperson? I heard you this morning.
Yes, I will.
Welcome.
Thank you. Seeing none, to have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
Adjourn.